Welcome to a Legendarium special about the Roman Empire and West Africa. In this episode, we will learn about the far-reaching trade connections between the Roman Empire and the kingdoms of West Africa. At its fullest extent, the Roman Empire stretched from Egypt in the south to Great Britain in the north. Yet the influence of the empire went far beyond its borders. Greeks had extensive contacts with Egypt but knew little of Africa beyond its northern coast. Classical writers refer to all Sudanic and Sub-Saharan Africa as Ethiopia, while the term Africa referred only to the Maghreb region on the continent's northwestern coast. During the early imperial period, Rome made several expeditions into the Sahara Desert, though they decreased as North Africa grew hotter and drier. Of course, in the middle of the ocean of sand and stone lay Garama, a city of 10,000 people located in the Wadi Ajal, a sinuous east-west depression some 100 miles long and 2 to 3 miles wide. By building an elaborate irrigation system, they created a green patch in the middle of the Sahara. Unfortunately, as the Romans took over the North African coast, Garama found itself at war with the legions. In 19 BC, Cornelius Balbus led 10,000 Romans into Libya to punish Garama for raids against northern Africa. Balbus conquered the lesser city of Gadams before marching on Garama and subjugating it. After this, Balbus penetrated the continent further south until he reached the Niger River. In 50 AD, a general named Septimius Flaccus led a third expedition against nomadic bandits in modern-day Libya. He crushed the bandits, but his journey went further south than the Saharan desert. In fact, Flaccus made it as far as an enormous lake surrounded by elephants and rhinos, likely Lake Chad, before returning home. By then, the Romans firmly established Garama as a client state at Rome's beck and call. In 83 AD, a Roman merchant named Julius Maternus followed Flaccus's route to open new trade routes into West Africa. He reached Lake Chad and brought home a two-horned rhinoceros he displayed in the Colosseum. The animal created such a sensation that Emperor Domitian minted coins bearing the rhino's image around the year 84 AD. While on his journey, Julius Maternus encountered ancient cities in West Africa, most of them along the middle Niger River. Though the Romans dismissed the Garamantines as unruly, tent-dwelling nomads, they served as go-betweens for the Romans and the rich West African trade. Soon the Romans began sending Mediterranean amphorae filled with olive oil and wine south. Roman-style marble, concrete, and wine presses soon began following through the Sahara Desert to West Africa. Garamantines took the Roman goods and sent back semi-precious stones like carnelian and amazonite. These small stones, called carbuncles, became highly prized by the Romans. During the 4th century, a lucrative gold trade began crisscrossing the Sahara as well, though that ended with the fall of the Roman Empire. The Romans might not have known it, but they joined a long tradition of trans-Saharan trade made possible by camel trains which could cross the vast desert. The Romans built a robust and dynamic network to Sudanic and Sub-Saharan Africa based on Garama camel trains. Roman merchants bought slaves, gold, foodstuffs, and spices from the West African cities on the Niger River. They arrived at the Roman ports on the coast of North Africa. Going in the opposite direction went gemstones, textiles, and coins to the cities of the Middle Niger. In time, more exotic goods like hippopotamus ivory began to make their way north. Many of these goods stayed in Garama, which sent other trade goods across southern Sahara. Garama also imported West African crops like rice, cotton, and pearl millet, which they grew with their sophisticated irrigation system and made it possible for them to sustain their city in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Of course, war was the main source of slaves in antiquity, and the Garamantines proved great warriors. Royals and nobles fought from chariots, while the poor marched into war carrying shields and spears. They wore no armor, fought in loose order, and used javelins and small round shields. They used their military power to conquer the desert trade routes, and from Garama they continued to launch raids on their neighbors. This produced a steady return of war captives for sale in the slave markets of Roman cities near the coast. Romans wrote of Garamantines hunting cave-dwelling African troglodytes with 4-horse chariots. That is likely fancy, but the hard reality is that captives of these real wars marched in coffles numbering in the hundreds while shackled around the neck. If any of them slowed down, their captors cut their heads off and ordered the rest to continue. Garamantines tended to keep the men for themselves to work their expansive subterranean canal system. On the other hand, women and children often went north to Roman Alexandria, where many wound up in brothels or working as domestic servants, though some went on to become athletes and gladiators. Some Africans, of course, came north to become merchants or even serve in the Roman legions. This trade, as hideous as it could be, is a reminder that ancient civilizations overcame one of the greatest natural barriers on Earth, the Sahara Desert. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.